Hello again everyone, my name is Sophia. Welcome back to the channel. I know the last video didn't turn out that good, the 2025 reaction, because a lot of content got blocked out by YouTube's guidelines. So you could only hear my voice, but I went through the whole PDF of this Project 2025 thing, of the plan for the Republican agenda, and highlighted multiple pieces, different lines of text. Specifically, we're going to cover the parts that say anything with LGBTQ or radical ideology, gender identities, or even abortion things, which I found. I went through pretty much every page on this thing in this PDF. Of these 922 pages, I went through each one to find this. So this is going to be my reaction and review of this. You can skip along if you want, but it was boring to read, okay? But yeah, I hope you enjoy. So sorry if my voice sounds low, that's just how I sound on mic. I don't know why. I increased the volume when I'm editing so you can hear. Okay, let's get started. So on the right, I mean, if you just ignore this name, that's my regular name, not my gender affirming one. So the first highlight was on page 352. I know this thing loads slowly because of how many pages there are. So sorry if it takes a while to load. So we're gonna go to 352. So the first thing that we see here in the Section 11 Department of Education, in a pluralistic society, families and students should be free to choose from a diverse set of school options and learning environments that best fit their needs. Our post-secondary institutions should also reflect such diversity, with room for not only traditional liberal arts, colleges and research universities but also faith-based institutions, career schools, military academies, and lifelong learning programs. So those to start off with, like, that was not one of my key points, I forgot. So now if this thing would load quickly, instead of taking ages to go from one page to the other. Next one is going to be on 355 for the PDF. So this part, safeguarding civil rights, on page 322 of the actual book. Let me zoom in for y'all. So safeguarding civil rights. Enforcement of civil rights should be based on a proper understanding of those laws, rejecting gender ideology and critical race theory. So enforcing of civil rights. So get an understanding of all the regular laws and stuff, but they don't like so they want us to deny anything that has to do with gender identity, gender ideology, like LGBTQ and anything alongside that. Which I would not personally I wouldn't advise rejecting it. We shouldn't be oppressed in this. We should express ourselves, okay? Next one is on 364. But you can ask me anything in the comments if you wish. So I think this part was the one with the school meals program. Let me see. Thoroughly reviewed, okay. So, civil rights data collection on December 13th, 2021, OCR published a notice concerning proposed revisions. I don't know why oh, right. Mandatory Civil Rights Data Collection, CRDC, in which it proposed to create and collect data on a new non-binary, not sex category, in addition to the current male or female sex categories, and to retire data collection that indicates the number of high school level interscholastic athletic sports in which only male and female students participate, high school level athletics teams in which only male or female students participate, and participants on high school level interscholastic athletics sports teams in which only male or only female students participate. These poorly conceived changes are contrary to law, fail to take account of student privacy interests and statutory protections favoring parental rights under protection of pupils' rights amendment and jettison a law, and so on. So what I'm seeing, I guess, schools athletics teams, women's teams only has women, men only have men. I guess they don't want an additional category like non-binary or even trans, but in this case it specifically says non-binary. But okay, look, I see their concerns that I've heard that supposedly trans male have a higher advantage. Trans female on a women's team in sports supposedly has a higher advantage, but in reality it doesn't. We take hormones, right? We lose muscle mass, we get a little bit weaker, and there's nothing to say that we're stronger than regular women, like cis women. We're all equal at that point. So people I'm trans female, and I'm sure I wouldn't have an advantage over this. If I were on the men's team, if I had more testosterone and I wasn't on estrogen, then not sure I'd be stronger, because testosterone you have more muscle mass and muscles, so you're stronger. Estrogen, it would be less strong, so less muscular strength. So this other one, the new administration moves quickly to move to resign these changes, which adds a new non-binary sex category to OCR's data collection. So the next one is about the Title IX rights and all that, and regulations. Or let's just say for any sexual harassment or abuse or anything, any cases, the legal process of reporting them and stuff. So at the time, there's no scientific or legal basis for redefining sex to sexual orientation and gender identity. In Title IX, such a change misrepresents the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion in Bostock, threatens the American system of federalism, removes important due process protections for students in higher education, and puts girls and women in danger of physical harm, facilitating social gender transition without parental consent, increases the likelihood that children will seek hormone treatments such as puberty blockers, which are experimental medical interventions. Research has not determined positive effects and long-term outcomes of these treatments, and unintended side effects are still not fully understood. So the thing with that is, so I guess we can say sex is gender at birth, but what you were born with, biological male or female at birth. But gender identity is what you define as what you are, what you consider yourself. So the thing with this, so putting women in danger of physical harm. Sure, there are trans women, or guys, not to be transphobic, but like biological men. Let's say that there have been some that for sure have abused the right of being the ability to be transgender, just for their own greedy needs, or even to kidnap kids and stuff and abuse people in restrooms and stuff. But that doesn't mean every transgender individual is a bad person. No, not everyone is a bad person. Not everyone's gonna do the same thing. So just because one trans woman decided to violate somebody doesn't mean we're all gonna do that and that we all should be eliminated. So no. But yeah, there is a physical harm, but it's not that high. So facilitating social gender transition without parental consent. Yeah, I mean, look, being trans is not a choice. It's either you are born as, either you are or we're not. And kids at a young age, some of them already know. Some of them already know whether they're trans or not. And there are usually signs like behavior or the way they dress and stuff, interest, that already indicates that they're trans. So yeah, hormone treatments, puberty blockers, yeah, estrogen, progesterone, and spironolactone, puberty blocker. Yeah, they affect people differently. Not everyone's gonna have the same experience while using them. And yeah, some people may help others, or like support them in the process of transitioning. That's fine. There's no like pressure. You have the option to transition or not. But yeah, as long as the kids go through the proper like counseling and stuff, and don't just go into it right away, I guess that's fine, even if the parents don't know. Sure, if the parents know, it can be good and can also be bad, depending on how the parents would take it, and if the parents would be supportive or not. And then, yeah, the treatments, like I said here, the effects of them can be different from person to person. There's no guarantee. The effects I've had on hormone therapy, gender-affirming hormone therapy, might be different from what other people have dealt with or are dealing with right now. But yeah, some of us may face similar things. Unintended side effects, yeah, before you even start the hormone therapy, you are told what the side effects and risks might be and what the benefits of the hormone therapy are. So it's not like we're just being forced into it like immediately without any information about it. I was told about the possible like blood clots and stuff, and the muscle mass, like loss of muscle mass, things like that. I was told before I even started it. So I know what I'm dealing with. And so far I haven't had any bad experiences. So the next administration should abandon this change, redefining sex to mean sexual orientation and gender identity in Title IX immediately across all departments. So sexual orientation, male, female, gender identity, what you define yourself as, they're two different things. On its first day in office, the next administration should signal its intent to enter the rulemaking process to restore the Trump administration's Title IX regulation, with the additional insistence that sex is properly understood as a fixed biological fact. Yeah, sex, what you were born as at birth. Official notice and comments should also be posted immediately. So at the same time, the political appointee in the Office for Civil Rights should begin a full review of all Title IX investigations that were conducted on the understanding that sex referred to gender identity and or sexual orientation. Like I said, they're two different things. And now the next part is on page 370. So let me see. Since the 1940s, federal lawmakers have greatly expanded these the school meal programs. That's what they're referring to, I think, right? Creating an entitlement for nearly all students, regardless of family income levels, and have turned the meal programs into some of the most wasteful programs in Washington now. The USDA is threatening to withhold federal tax power spending for these meals from schools that do not implement the Title IX of the Education Amendments in 1972, so that the term sex is replaced with sexual orientation and gender identity. I mean, meal programs. I guess sexual orientation at birth, but gender identity is different. So next one is 375. I'm not really sure what else to say about that. So they also lobbied to keep schools closed during the pandemic. All of these positions run contrary to robust research evidence showing positive outcomes for students. From education choice policies, there is no conclusive evidence that more taxpayer spending on schools improves student outcomes. And evidence finds that keeping schools closed to in-person learning resulted in negative emotional and academic outcomes for students. Furthermore, the union promotes so-called quote-unquote radical racial and gender ideologies in schools that parents oppose, according to national representative surveys. Okay, first the pandemic, a lot of things were closed down or limited. Schools became remote. Others, the experience of the classroom, in some ways it was good online, but there were also negatives to that. Some professors don't know how to teach online, but aside from the point. I think we learn better in person overall. Yeah, negative emotional academic outcomes. Yeah, I can imagine that. Furthermore, the union. So during the pandemic, I mean, I guess people got to explore more of what themselves, but calling the gender stuff radical racial and gender ideologies. I mean, not everyone's accepting of all these different genders, but we are able to be who we are. I mean, I'm trans. There might be someone gay, lesbian, or anything. We are free to be who we are. And the pandemic is like, I mean, okay, the parents oppose not all parents are gonna be opposing their child like coming out as trans or gay or anything. But there are also supportive parents too. So the ones who are supportive, that's great. The ones who are not supportive, I mean, that's sad to hear. And I mean, yeah, there must be some parents that are not. I mean, I've seen many stories or read and reviewed videos of stories of parents not accepting their child coming out, even reacting horribly, yelling at them. But that doesn't mean everyone's gonna be against this. There are still supportive people out there. And I totally support LGBTQ, okay? So the next one is 376. I'm sorry if this is boring. I mean, this is how it is. I don't find any of this fascinating to read. So let me see, more Title IX stuff, it seems. So this uncertainty has emboldened federal agencies to promote rules and policies that infringe parental rights. For example, under the Biden administration's proposed Title IX regulations, schools could be required to assist a child with social or medical gender transition without parental consent, or to withhold information from parents about a child's social transition, like their changing of their name or pronouns. So before I continue, yeah, I mean, there must be a reason why the schools staff doesn't disclose that information to the parents, possibly because either the child has said something or something about their parents being anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans, anti-whatever, and they're afraid of being outed by their parents, thrown out or something onto the streets, or abandoned, or exorcism stuff. And yeah, I mean, or even the staff might know the parents might not be supportive of them. I mean, it's good to have people to share or a safe space in schools, especially if the kids' homes are not a safe space. So I get that. There's no exact need to tell the parents if their parents are not going to be supportive. And yeah, anyone who's coming out or wants to express their true selves without getting hated on by their parents, just be yourself. Express yourself. Surround yourself with people who support you, have similar interests, not people who are going to be hating on you every day. Okay, pronouns, yeah, that's fine. The federal government could demand that schools include curriculum or lessons regarding critical race or gender theory in a way that violates parental rights. I mean, I mean, my experience, we were not forced to learn anything about gender. I've sort of learned it myself. Sure, we are taught like everyone's equal rights, equality, but there are only talks about it, but like, it's not like greatly in depth. I don't know about now for the high schools, middle schools, or whatever, but in my time, no. I only like in the socializing with people, I guess I got to learn this stuff. Especially if it requires minors to disclose information about their religious beliefs or beliefs about race or gender in violation of the protection of people's rights. It's freedom of speech, okay? And we could express ourselves freely if we choose to. We do not need someone to tell us what we can and cannot be. So, next part. Work to pass a federal Parents' Bill of Rights that restores parental rights to a top-tier right. Sorry, my mouth is just a bit dry from reading this. Such legislation would give families a fair hearing in court when the federal government enforces any policy against parents in a way that undermines their right and responsibility to raise, educate, and care for their children. The law would require the government to satisfy strict scrutiny, the highest standard of judicial review, when the government infringes parental rights. So I guess they're trying to get the parents involved and be able to get the parents to be up to date on everything, even the gender stuff. But there's still going to be parents that are not going to accept their child for being different from them. They shouldn't be forced to disclose this information to the parents. So the next thing is on in 1 second it should load. If it loads, okay, got it. As documented by writers such as Abigail Schreier and others, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons documented a fourfold increase in the number of biological girls seeking gender surgery trans males between 2016 and 17. Larger increases were found in the UK from 2009 to 2019 and 2017 to 2018. These statistics and others point to a social contagion in which minor children, especially girls, are attempting to make life-altering decisions about puberty blockers and other hormone treatments and even surgeries to remove or alter vital body parts. So yeah, over the years, probably years ago, there weren't that many people transitioning because, like many factors, like being afraid to come out, being afraid to change because of possibly being hated by society, not accepting of them, or even being punished or penalized. Yeah, the transitioning from one gender to the other, they're like, it used to be said that there's no turning back. Nowadays, the medical field is improving, procedures are done better. There are ways to like undo the detransition, I should say. Yeah, it can be a life-changing thing. Altering vital body parts, yeah. Male to female, female to male, yeah. Of course, if the individual's it's trans, right? I mean, if they go through the proper like counseling and they know what they're doing, and they are sure that they want to transition, then so be it, they can transition. So Heritage Foundation finds that providing easier access to such treatments and surgeries without parental consent does not reduce the suicidality of these young people and may increase suicide rates. So first, so the kids can't get the surgeries by themselves, can they? The parents would end up having to know about this in order to help them transition before the child's before the okay, if the individual is not a legal age to be an adult yet, yeah, it would need parental consent. So what proof do they have about kids doing this without parents knowing? And then, I mean, the parents have to know about this anyways in order to allow them to do it. But once you're 18 or older, I mean, for here at least, we can make our own decisions and get the surgery if we want to. So, yeah, I mean, the suicide rates, depending on this, where you find the source for that, the numbers, it's not the reason why there have been detransitions, but also people like deleting themselves, if you know what I mean, is because of people not being accepting of them, people hating on them, treating them like garbage just because they're a different gender or look different or appear different, act differently or stuff, or have different ideas. That's what most of those detransitions and deletions of themselves happen, because they're being rejected by certain people of society, especially like family members, parents, partners, and some of them can't deal with it. Yeah, it's painful, but that's the reality. No one should be pushed to the point of having or of thinking of deleting themselves. So yeah. So if people keep rejecting the LGBTQ individuals, or disrespecting them and pushing them to the point of giving up on life, of course they're gonna increase the deletion rates. Especially if Trump gets elected, he managed to outlaw LGBTQ, or even making it hard to get the hormones. Like, it would just make things worse. That's why we need the Democrat. We need to have freedom of expression. We shouldn't be oppressed, okay? So the next administration should take particular note of how radical gender ideology is having a devastating effect on school-aged children today, especially young girls. So yeah, I guess they're gonna pay more attention to that, but like I said again, we are free. We can be what we want to be or who we are. We shouldn't be oppressed or having to suppress our true selves just because the government doesn't like, or certain people don't like, anything that's like LGBTQ or anything that's different from them. So school officials in some states are requiring teachers and other school employees to accept a minor's decision to assume a different gender as they should, of course. I mean, everyone should be accepting. Schools are a safe space, right? Or should be in most cases they are, and they should be. So, and people around them, people in the school around those individuals who are a different gender, I mean, should be accepting of them, treat them equally. Yeah, well, at school, even outside of school too, without notifying parents. Like I said earlier, not all parents are going to be accepting of them. Some of them might even just throw them out of the house at that point. Might yell at them, throw things at them. So it's better not, for those cases, it's better not to share the things with the parents. So in California and New Jersey, and certain districts in Kansas and elsewhere, educators are prohibited from informing parents of child's confusion over the sex if the children do not want their parents to know. Yeah, exactly. Because not every parent's going to be accepting. Such policies allow students to drive a wedge between parents and children. Yeah, I guess I can see that. But it all goes back to the same thing again. The next administration should work with Congress to provide an example to state lawmakers by requiring K-12 districts under federal jurisdiction, including Washington, D.C. public schools, Bureau of Indian Education schools, and Department of DOD schools, with legislation stating that... Sorry. My throat's hurting from talking a lot. So no public education employee or contractor shall use a name to address a student other than the name listed on the student's birth certificate without written permission of student's parents or guardian. I disagree with that. Kids, like I said, look, we keep going back in a loop here. Not all parents are going to be accepting of their child's decisions. And some of them might try to make them turn away from being who they are and make them suppress their true selves. So that's why, I mean, they don't need their parents' approval to have another name or pronoun. So that's just a bunch of BS. No public education employee or contractor shall use a pronoun in addressing a student that is different from that student's biological sex without the same thing again. Pronouns or even gender-affirming name. The kids, they can choose what they are. They can be what they want to be or who they are. And they can be identified how they choose. They can tell people they want to be called this name or that name. Or be referred to as him, her, they, them, or she, her, or whatever other pronouns. We don't need parental permission. So no public institution may require an education employee or contractor to use a pronoun that does not match a person's biological sex. Where contractor's religious or moral convictions. Same things at this point. It's just annoying to read this stuff. Why can't this government just let the kids be who they are? Stop trying to stop them. Stop limiting them. You're just gonna make them worse or cause more damage to their life and make them feel more unhappy than they are. So furthermore, research from the Claremont Institute used documents provided by a whistleblower demonstrating how educators at DoD schools around the world are using radical gender theory again and critical race theory in their lessons. It's good that they're promoting. It's good that educators are talking more about it, like like DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusiveness. Yeah, we're all equal. And it's good. I mean, if you raise your child the old way, like, if you teach them to hate people who are different than them, especially LGBTQ, then they're just gonna grow up showing hatred and starting more war. If you teach them to accept and to be willing to be open to change, then we have less problems in the future and less hatred in society. So this instructional material discards biology in favor of political indoctrination and applies critical race theory core tenets, advocating for more racial discrimination, such ideas are highly unpopular among parents, according to nationally representative surveys, and the course material attempts to indoctrinate students with radical ideas about race and ambiguous concept of gender. This is just annoying. And here we go again. Bring the parents into this again. Yeah, again, they're not all accepting. But there are other ones that are. And yes, there are many genders. So next one is 385. I'm not looking forward to having Trump in this. This is getting terrifying for us. Also, by the way, feel free to send me messages or emails, or even comments if you want to talk to me. I totally support LGBTQ. I'm also part of it. I'm trying to advocate for our rights. And yeah, around me, you're safe, okay? Alright, this is a safe space, safe channel. Any hateful comments should be deleted. Okay, so prohibit accreditation agencies from leveraging their Title IV gatekeeper role to mandate educational institutions adopt diversity, equity and inclusion. I messed it up earlier. So DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, that's a good thing to have, but prohibit accreditation. No. We have to keep growing on DEI. Keep promoting equality and freedom and acceptance of each other, not the opposite of that, or should I say, like hating one another. Oh my god, this loads slowly. Okay, next one's 388. So university, educational loans and stuff here. So cap indirect costs at universities. Currently, the federal government pays a portion of overhead expenses associated with university-based research, known as indirect costs. These reimbursements cross-subsidize leftist agendas and the research of billion-dollar organizations such as Google and the Ford Foundation. Universities also use this influx of cash to pay for diversity, equity, inclusion efforts to correct course. I mean, look, yeah, the universities are becoming more and more diverse. Like I was saying, I mean, yeah, the indirect costs can be high, sometimes unnecessary, but at least they're doing something to diversify the campus and create more acceptance and build a stronger community. That's a good thing. So, let's see. To correct course, Congress should cap the indirect cost rate paid so that it does not exceed the lowest rate. Blah, blah, blah. Reduce federal taxpayer subsidization of less leftist ideas. So they want to make, like, defund or help, or if they want, the Republicans want to basically start removing some of the funding or limit it. Any funding that goes into diversifying campuses or universities or any of the DEI agendas. Next thing is an accounting of how federal programs and grants spread DEI, CRT, and gender ideology. So I guess we're going to keep track of all this stuff that goes into promoting this freedom and these helpful programs, and then try to find ways to bring them down. So, section 14. So this one is covering the Department of Health and Human Services. So under President Trump, HHS, Human Services was dedicated to serving all Americans from conception to natural death, including those individuals and families who face economic and social well-being challenges. Under President Biden, the mission has shifted to promoting equity in everything we do for sake of populations sharing a particular characteristic, including race, sexuality, gender identification, ethnicity, and a host of other categories. Okay. As a result of HHS's having lost its way, U.S. life expectancy, instead of returning to normal after the COVID pandemic, continued to drop precipitously to levels not seen since 1996, with white populations alone losing 7% of their expected lifespan in just 1 year. Nothing less than America's long-term survival is at stake. At stake. Accordingly, HHS must return to serving the health and well-being of all Americans at all stages of life instead of using social engineering that leaves us sicker, poorer, and more divided. So for that introduction, I mean, yeah, so it's going to be life expectancy stuff. So, I mean, not everyone is poor, not everyone's rich. There are different levels, yeah. Social engineering. Okay, let's just read more and see what this leads up to. 483 is the next page. Excuse me. So, yeah, I guess there are different goals here. So, goal number 1: protecting life, conscience, and bodily integrity. So, the Secretary should pursue a robust agenda to protect the fundamental right to life, protect conscience rights, and uphold bodily integrity rooted in biological realities, not ideology. So I guess rely more on biological stuff. Biology instead of the gender stuff. So from the moment of conception, every human being possesses inherent dignity and worth, and our humanity does not depend on our age, state of development, race, or abilities. The secretary must ensure that all HHS programs and activities are rooted in a deep respect for innocent human life. That from day one until natural death, abortion and euthanasia are not healthcare. A robust respect for the sacred rights of conscience, both at HHS and among governments and institutions funded by it, increases choices for patients and program beneficiaries, and furthers pluralism and tolerance. The Secretary must protect Americans' civil rights by ensuring that HHS programs and activities follow the letter and spirit of religious freedom and conscience protection laws. Radical actors inside and outside government are promoting harmful identity politics that replaces biological sex with subjective pronoun notions of gender identity, and bases a person's worth on his or her race, sex, or other identities. So they don't like the gender identity stuff being free. This destructive dogma, under the guise of equity, threatens America's fundamental liberties as well as the health and well-being of children and other adults alike. How do we threaten them? It's just they're afraid that that the next generations are going to be, people in the next generations are going to be more free or different from them, that they want to prevent them from being different and all make them all the same, just male and female, and have only certain ideas of what's right and wrong instead of all this gender identity stuff. So they just don't like us being trans, gay, or whatever. What have we done to them? And how do we harm people in being ourselves? There are people who disrespect us. So I mean, why shouldn't we defend ourselves in return? So let's continue. So radical actors and okay. So where do we leave off? I got distracted by a phone call, but so biological sex, yeah, what you were born as, but at birth. Gender identity, what you define yourself, what you are. It might not align with what you were born as, but yeah. This is not even destructive. They just want to exaggerate this and make it look like a bad thing. So the next secretary must ensure that HHS programs protect children's minds and bodies, and the HHS programs respect parents' basic right to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children. So this looks like they want their parents to be more in control. So let's say, for example, if there was a child, let's say this couple, mother and father, had a kid, right? And let's say the kid started growing up, and it turns out that they're trans. Let's say they grew up as a male, and they showed signs of like gender dysphoria, of wanting and being trans, and being a trans female, and the parents were against that. So at that point, if this were the case, if the parents had the full control over that, or controlling how the child is raised, and to say the parents weren't supportive of that, they would, at that point, they would be allowed to force the kid to like get rid of those ideas, live how the parents want the kids to live. But if the parents are supportive of them, of LGBTQ and stuff, then that's a good. I mean, then the parents would help the kids get to where they want to be. But this, so respect parents' basic right. The kids should not be forced. Like, I get that parents want to raise the kid nicely and make sure they turn out nicely, they're raised properly, but making them suppress their true self, the kids' true selves, their true identities, that is not gonna bring good things. That's just gonna make them live unhappily, suppress their true selves, and feel unhappy on the inside. And they're just gonna grow up being possibly depressed, even delete themselves. So I don't fully agree with that. I mean, yeah, respect the rights, but to a certain extent, not full control. A kid should be able to express his or herself or themselves or whatever pronoun. So the next one is, so goal number 3, promoting stable and flourishing married families. Families comprised of a mother and father and their children are the foundation of a well-ordered nation and healthy society. Unfortunately, family policies and programs under President Biden's HHS are fraught with agenda items focusing on LGBT plus equity, subsidizing single motherhood, disincentivizing work, and penalizing marriage. These policies should be repealed, and replaced by policies that support the formation of stable, married, nuclear families. Well, yeah, I get that marriage is usually it's been between a woman and a man, but yeah, I can see LGBTQ being brought into this because there are same-sex marriages. There are marriages between two fathers, two mothers. I mean, that's fine. What's wrong with same-sex marriage? What's wrong if there's nothing wrong? I mean, yeah, there are pros and cons to this, but I mean, I don't know how far to say this. I mean, yeah, there are times where one of the parents are not there, or both. In my case, my parents passed away years ago, but I mean, yeah, I get the idea of man and woman being the foundation of that and having kids. But we should be allowed to have different types of marriages. Interracial, same-sex, or whatever. So non-related boyfriends are among the most dangerous place for a child to be. Like, oh, you mean boyfriend, like man with another man? There's nothing wrong with that. These people are just these Republicans are just crazy. Who says that having two fathers is gonna kill the kid or is gonna make them fail at life? I mean, it depends on how they raise the child. It's not guaranteed that they'll mess up the child. I'm sure they'll do. Sometimes these new these new types of marriages bring in better kids, better generations of people, and are raised better than others around them. So there's nothing wrong with same-sex marriage. So HHS should prioritize married father engagement in its messaging, health, and welfare policies. They're just gonna spread more BS on this. In the context of current and emerging reproductive technologies, HHS policies should never place the desire of adults or the desire of children to be raised by the biological fathers and mothers who conceive them. So like adoption and stuff, I guess. And I guess how I think there have been trans women who have given birth too. So, yeah. In cases involving biological parents who are found by a court to be unfit because of abuse or neglect, the process of adoption should be speedy, yeah. So they don't have to suffer in the household. And supported generously by HHS, okay? So the CDC operates several programs related to vaccine safety, including the vaccine. I think this stuff is about to get into the abortion stuff. Oh, wait. Maybe not. Maybe it is. The CDC operates several programs related to vaccine safety, including the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, Vaccine Safety Data Link, VSD, and Clinical Immunization Safety Assessment, CISA. Project. Those functions and their associated funding should be transferred to the FDA, Federal Drug Administration, which is responsible for post-market surveillance, blah blah blah. Respect for life and conscience. Yeah, I think this is the abortion stuff. So the CDC should eliminate programs and projects that do not respect human life and conscious rights and that undermine family formation. It should ensure that it is not promoting abortion as health care. It should fund studies into the risks and complications of abortion and ensure that it corrects and does not promote misinformation regarding the comparative health and psychological benefits of childbirth versus the health and psychological risks of intentionally taking a human life through abortion. Like, I get there are ethical reasons behind this too, but in that not everyone's pro-abortion or anti-abortionist, but women should have the ability to get abortions if they need to. I mean, yeah, I get that there are risks involved. Not everyone's gonna have the same experience either. But I think women should have the ability to get abortions. And the part with healthcare, I mean, I think they're referring to how easy it is to get them, or how much easier it is to get them under President Biden's administration compared to previous presidencies. But we'll see how that goes. The CDC oversaw and funded the development and testing of the vaccines and aborted fetal cell lines. Tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of people who objected taking a vaccine with such a link to abortion. Oh yeah, I think it has to do with the COVID vaccine possibly causing the child to be lost, aborted. As evidenced by litigation across the country, blah blah blah. Thousands were fired unjustly because of the exercise, okay? which could have been avoided from their consciences or faith on this question. Ending a child's life as part of research. Growing what? All such research should be prohibited as a matter of law and policy. I'm not sure what to say on that. Okay, so data collection, CDC's, abortion, surveillance, maternity and mortality. Reporting systems are woefully inadequate. CDC abortion data are reported by states on a voluntary basis. In California, Maryland, and New Hampshire do not submit abortion data at all. Accurate and reliable statistical data about abortion survivors, and abortion-related material deaths or maternal deaths are essential to timely, reliable public health and public analysis. I mean, yeah, I guess there's a gap, a piece of data missing, but isn't that part of confidentiality at that point? Because liberal states have now become sanctuaries for abortion tourism. So yeah, the ability to get abortion more easily, without being sacrificing privacy. So it's more frequent now. HHS should use every tool available, including cutting of funds, to ensure that every state reports exactly how many abortions take place within its borders, at what of the child, for what reason, the mother's state of residence, and by what method. So they want to disclose all the information. They want the states to disclose all the information instead of keeping it confidential. Ensure statistics are separated by category: miscarriage, chemotherapy, stillbirths, induced abortion. Require monitoring and reporting for complications. Every instance of a child being born alive after an abortion. Intentionally end an unborn child's life, miscarriage management, or standard ectopic pregnancy treatments conflated with abortion. So comparisons between live birth and abortion should be tracked across various demographic indicators to assess whether certain populations targeted by abortion providers, and whether better prenatal, physical, mental, and social care improves infant outcomes and decreases abortion rates. Especially among those who are not or most vulnerable. The CDC should immediately end its collection of data and its collection of data on gender identity. Really? That's ridiculous. Which legitimizes. I can't speak anymore. I've been talking too much. Which legitimizes the unscientific notion that men can become women and vice versa. So trans men, trans women, and encourages the phenomena of multiplying subjective identities. So there are more and more trans. But we need this data. It helps, right, to have data on this. Especially so we can improve medical procedures, improve care, and everything. We shouldn't end collection of data on gender identity. Everything matters, okay? So abortion pills pose the single greatest threat to unborn children in a post-Roe world. The rate of chemical abortion in the U.S. has increased by more than 150% in the past decade. More than half of annual abortions in the U.S. are chemical rather than surgical. The abortion pill regimen is typically a two-part process. The first pill, mifepristone, causes the death of the unborn child by cutting off the hormone progesterone, which is required to sustain pregnancy. The second pill, misoprostol, causes contractions to induce a delivery of the dead child and uterine contents, usually into a toilet at home. The abortion pill regime is currently approved for up to 70 days, 10 weeks into pregnancy, and before Biden was subject to a heightened safety restriction called a risk evaluation and mitigation REMS that requires an in-person visit with a physician who can check for dangerous contradictions such as ectopic pregnancies and can advise the mother seeking an abortion of the risks of chemical abortion, including hemorrhaging, and what to do in such circumstances. Chemical abortion has been found to have a complication rate 4 times higher than of a surgical abortion. So yeah, each one has its has its pros and cons, but okay, let's continue forward on this, I guess. Okay, so more abortions that reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs because the politicized approval process was illegal from the start. Failed to abide by its legal obligations, protect the health, safety, and welfare of girls and women. The labeled conditions of use ignored the potential impacts of the hormone blocking regime. Bodies of adolescent girls were disregarded by the substantial. The chemical abortion drugs cause more complications, blah blah. Eliminated necessary safeguard for pregnant girls and women who undergo this dangerous drug. Furthermore, no point in the past 2 decades has the FDA ever acknowledged that or addressed federal laws that prohibit the distribution of abortion drugs by post-mail. Okay. FDA has permitted and actively encouraged such activity. Now that the Supreme Court has acknowledged the Constitution contains no right to an abortion, the FDA is ethically and legally obligated to revisit and withdraw its initial approval, which was pregnant, blah blah blah. Pregnancy being an illness and abortion being therapeutically effective at treating this illness. Charged with guaranteeing the safety and efficacy of drugs, and therefore should withdraw this drug that is proven to be dangerous to women. Yes, I don't know what to say anymore at this point, but so one thing this section I was reading earlier today, I mean, the thing we're about to walk into, which I already read, they're trying to, I guess, get rid of the mail abortion by mail distribution stuff and make it a requirement to go in person. So yeah, as an interim step, the FDA should immediately restore the REMS by removing the in-person dispensing requirement to eliminate dangerous abortion and abortion by mail distribution. Oh my god. Limiting abortion pills to the 49-day gestation. Returning to the pre-2021 in-person dispensing requirement. To report all require serious adverse events, not just deaths. Increase women's health and safety. Stop promoting or approving mail-order abortions in violation of long-standing federal laws that prohibit the mailing and interstate carriage of abortion drugs. So they're trying to make it less accessible, less easy to get by mail. So this one is woke policies under Francis Collins, blah blah blah, Me Too movement that is refused to sponsor scientific conferences unless there were a certain number of women panelists, which violates federal law, civil rights law against sex discrimination. This quota practice should be ended. And the NIH Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, which pushes such unlawful action, should be abolished. Really? Woke policy. People, really. Pushing. And NIH has been at the forefront in quote unquote pushing junk gender science. Gender science, like, that's not junk. It should fund studies into short-term or long-term negative effects of cross-sex interventions, including affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones and surgeries, and likelihood of assistance if young people are given counseling that do not include medical or social intervention. I guess it can help to have more studies, yeah. But I don't consider this as gender stuff junk. So this next thing I saw was Planned Parenthood. So prohibit Planned Parenthood from receiving Medicaid funds. So during 2020 to 2021 reporting period, Planned Parenthood performed more than 383,000 abortions. Wow, that's an impressive number. That's a high number. Reported more than $133 million in excess revenue, 2.1 in net assets. That its affiliates received more than $633 million in government funding, $579 million in private contributions, face accusations of waste, abuse, and potential fraud with taxpayer dollars. Failure to report the sexual abuse of minor girls. Oh, brother. Policymakers should end taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood and all other abortion providers and redirect funding to health centers that provide real health care for women. The bulk of federal funding for Planned Parenthood comes through the Medicaid program. And take 2 actions to limit this funding. So I guess they're trying to cut funding or limit it for Planned Parenthood. Wouldn't that just make it harder for women to get the abortions in general? And reduce the amount of services that Planned Parenthood provides? Like, really? So now here's something related to transgender stuff. reissue a stronger transgender national coverage discrimination. CMS should repromulgate its 2016 decision that CMS could not issue a national coverage determination (NCD) regarding gender reassignment surgery for Medicare beneficiaries. In doing so, CMS should acknowledge the growing body of evidence that such interventions are dangerous and acknowledge that there is insufficient evidence to support such coverage in state plans. Okay, look, yeah, we still need more studies should be done on this transgender gender reassignment surgeries or gender affirming surgery. Sure, it would help bring better results and reduce any risks or complications along the way when the surgeries are done. But yeah, they can be dangerous. But if we can get more studies on this, it could help find ways to make them safer and make people more aware and not so dangerous as they used to be. Yeah, and then coverage. I mean, not everyone has the money to get all the surgeries done or even has enough money to get at least one surgery done. Not all trans women or trans men have every surgery, right? Some of them are able to, or there are many who are able to, others who aren't. Not everyone is in the same circumstance or situation with money, so that's a thing. So it would be great if medical insurances can cover this. So this next one. Under the proposed rules, sex is redefined. Discrimination on the basis of sex includes, but is not limited to, discrimination on the basis of sex stereotypes, sex characteristics, including intersex traits, pregnancy or related conditions, sexual orientation or gender identity, The department proposes the highly ideological, the redefinition of sex to cover gender identity, sexual orientation, and pregnancy to cover abortion should be reversed in all HHS and CMS programs as was done by under the Trump administration. This includes the Children's Health Insurance Program. CHIP, low-income families who rely on CHIP should not be coerced, pressured, or otherwise encouraged to embrace the ideological, motivated sexualization of their children. So you're telling them to not pursue, like to suppress their ideas of their true gender identity. Really, bro? So they don't support that. And how are they being coerced? Pressured? For all I mean, they may just be pressured to suppress their true selves. They shouldn't be suppressed to do that. Or pressed. I mean, they shouldn't be pressured to suppress their true selves. They should be who they are, they want to be, or who they feel they are. Not oppressed or pressured. Okay, so moving forward, protect faith-based grant recipients from religious. Okay. Maintain a biblically based and social science reinforced definition of marriage and family. So they want to go to the, instead of all the like same-sex marriage and stuff, they just want to be the old way, only man and woman together. And the raised in homes aside from a heterosexual intact family marriage are clear. All other family forms involve higher levels of instability. The average length of same-sex marriages is half that of heterosexual marriages, financial stress or poverty, and poor behavioral, psychological, or educational outcomes. Okay, not all same-sex marriages are going to turn out badly. Okay, there are people who are good, the other people who are bad. Some people are good at being parents, others aren't. Some of them are not ready. Okay? Both partners should think before they have a kid or adopt one. So, I mean, results may vary, family to family, household to household. HMRE program grants should be available to faith-based recipients to affirm that marriage is between not just any two adults, but one man and one unrelated woman. And here we go again. So programs that affirm and teach fathers based on a biological and sociological understanding of what it means to be a father, not a gender-neutral parent from social science and psychology and personal testimonies. So they're against all these different marriages. I think I've lost all my brain cells already after reading this stuff. But let's keep moving forward, shall we? Because right now, this is important. So this topic, readdress the national strategy to support family caregivers. Well, in theory, the strategy aims to support family members with duties to care for older family members. The plan is overly focused on racial and LGBTQ plus equity. Should be examined to establish an efficient plan, support caregivers and their families. Okay. I don't really know what to say anymore about this. I mean, I don't fully know what this fully hints at. I mean, LGBTQ plus, we all deserve equal care. Caregivers can be LGBTQ too. There's nothing wrong with that. And now going to page 510 of the PDF. Whenever it decides to load, one day or 1 year later. Okay, withdraw Ryan White guidance allowing funds to pay for cross-sex transition support. So that must be the gender transitions. HRSA should withdraw all guidance encouraging Ryan White HIV/AIDS program service providers to provide controversial gender transition procedures or gender affirming care which cause irreversible physical and mental harm to those who receive them. Physical and mental harm. You're telling us LGBTQ, all this stuff is causing physical and mental harm. A lot of us are happier transitioning, being who we really are, the sex we are, the gender identity that we are, and pursuing what we want to be, or what we are, and how to make ourselves feel better. I mean, personally, I feel even much better being transgender female. Not everyone's gonna have. I mean, there are people who may, I guess, have some mental harm or physical, or who have complications. Not everyone goes to the same procedure. I mean, not everyone has the same outcome. Okay? Results may vary from person to person. There's no guarantee that everyone's going to have problems right after transitioning. So we shouldn't abandon this, okay? And some things are not irreversible. As we get more and more advanced with technology in the medical fields, and better trained staff and surgeons and doctors and physicians, there are less complications. So we find ways to improve upon them, find ways to correct those issues, ways to reduce those problems, and moving forward we can still proceed with gender affirming care. There's no need to remove that. We don't need to withdraw that. So we should have support to transition. We shouldn't have the support removed away from us. Some of us don't have support or people to support us in transition. Some of us are just like lone wolf, like on our own, figuring things out. So yeah, like me, I'm mostly on my own. I don't have someone to support me, but financially, yeah, that's still a work in progress, but I'm still trying to get the surgeries that I want, but I'm still not giving up on this. Okay, so this part, the family agenda. The Secretary's anti-discrimination policy statement should never conflate sex with gender identity or sexual orientation. Rather, the Secretary should proudly state that men and women are biological realities and that are crucial in the advancement of life sciences and medical care, and that married men and women are the ideal natural family structure because all children have a right to be raised by a man and women who conceived them. Okay, so from this, okay, gender and sex are different. Okay, sex is what you were born as, but gender is what you identify as. But okay, we know that most of the marriages are between a woman and a man. Or man, woman, yeah. Some people still believe there are only two genders. Yeah, biologically, I guess you can say yes to that, but yeah. But in reality, there are many different genders. There's not just male and female, there's trans female, trans male, transgender, non-binary, bi, gay, straight, cis, lesbian, or whatever. Why aren't people just accepting of the new world? The new types of same-sex, two fathers or two mothers. There's nothing wrong with that. They can be good parents. It's just these Republican right-handed pieces of trash just don't believe we can be good at parenting or raising families. So this next one is page 561 of the book itself, or 594 of the PDF. So federal agencies and their components have established so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) offices that have become the vehicles for this unlawful discrimination. And all departments and agencies have created equity plans to carry out these individual schemes. So they're calling this stuff, there's all this freedom stuff, equity, being equal and stuff, and LGBTQ as part of schemes. Look, it's good that we have these offices. There's a reason to have them. And they're helping build a better society, more equal. But this Republicans just are just so against that. And what makes it unlawful? We have equal rights. Okay, look, there are male and female. Okay, there are also other genders. We should all respect one another. We should all be treated equally with respect. And how is that unlawful discrimination? We should all have a voice. We should all be free. We are all equal. We are all free. We have freedom of speech. We have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, regardless of gender, race, color, or whatever, we are all equal. We are all one, united as one. Yet there are still people who don't believe that. So this next one is on page 599 of the PDF. So for instance, under an anti-human trafficking grant during the Obama administration, approximately $110 million in 2020, an awardee had to show a partnership with an LGBTQ organization and always have an interpreter on site. These conditions work to change culture and overlaid President Obama's priorities, support for the LGBTQ community, and for more of the funding to go to areas with large immigrant populations. I mean, yeah, the funding. It's good that there's funding for LGBTQ program. We need that too. And for the immigration stuff, yeah, I mean, we're overpopulated, but I'm sure I don't want to get involved in immigration stuff, honestly. There's just too much going on in this world. So here's on page 582 of the book, or 615 of the PDF, under the part that says needed reforms. So they want to reverse the DEI revolution in labor policy. Under the Obama and Biden administrations, labor policy was yet another target of the diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI revolution. Under this managerialist left-wing race and gender ideology, every aspect of labor race became a vehicle with which to advance race, sex, and other classifications, discriminate against conservative and religious viewpoints of these subjects and others, including pro-life views. The next administration should eliminate every one of these wrongful, I repeat, wrongful and burdensome ideological projects. These are not wrongful projects. The right side, right-wing, Republican shit, they just want to eliminate all this equality stuff. They just want to have male and female and that's it. They want to outlaw anything LGBTQ, which is messed up. Okay, we all matter in this world. We can all make a difference. There's no need to remove us. There's no need to remove anything from anyone who's LGBTQ. So okay, eliminate this next section. Eliminate a racial classifications and critical race theory trainings. The Biden administration has pushed racial equity in every area of our natural life, including in employment, and has condoned the use of racial classifications and racial preferences under the guise of DEI and critical race theory, which categorizes individuals as oppressors and victims based on race. Non-discrimination and equality are the law. DEI is not. The VII, isn't it Title 7, right? Title 7 flatly prohibits discrimination in employment on the basis of race, color, and national origin. So here are the steps that they recommend. The president should issue an order banning, and Congress should pass a law prohibiting the federal government from using taxpayer dollars to fund all critical race theory training. So they're trying to defund anything that promotes anything else, like diversity, equity, inclusion, or anything equality, like LGBTQ stuff. They want to defund anything that has to do with it, any programs that have to do with it, and fund anything that only favors the Republicans. Look, as I said, I'm transgender. And I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I'm trying to advocate for all of you, okay? But the point is, all of us have to put our voice out there, make our voice heard, make these Republicans realize that we all matter, that they're all just crazy and ridiculous. They're making all these ridiculous rules that they want to implement. That we all deserve equal rights, okay? We all deserve equal rights. We're not going to let these right-wing Republicans tell us that we cannot be LGBTQ, that we don't exist, that we don't matter. We all matter in the end, okay? So we all have to stand up and fight for our rights. Because these Republicans don't give a shit about us. They want to eliminate us. They want to eliminate all our support and weaken us till we're gone. So we must stand up and fight. And we need there's no need to remove these trainings. Also, if you have the right to vote, make sure you use the right, please. Right now, everything matters. Even you might lose your rights. You don't want the Republicans to mess you up. We all deserve equality. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not all this bullshit. So the next part here is eliminating the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. So one of the things it says, in addition to under the Executive Order 11246, the President and Department of Labor can force a huge swath of American employees to comply with rules and regulations based on novel anti-discrimination theories, such as sexual orientation and gender identity, that Congress has never imposed by statute. So I did read some things before, other things later on that might pop up. Basically, we can't be fired just because of our gender identity or because we're of race. Look right here. Sex discrimination. The Biden administration LGBT advocates and some federal courts have attempted to expand the scope and definition of sex discrimination based in part of the Supreme Court's decision in Bostock versus Clayton County. Bostock held that an employer who fires someone simply because simply for being homosexual or gay or transgender violates Title VII's prohibition against sex discrimination. The court explicitly limited its holding to the hiring and firing context in the Title VII, and did not purport to address other Title VII issues such as bathrooms, locker rooms, and dress codes, other laws prohibiting sex discrimination. Notably, the court focused on the status of the employees and used the term transgender status rather than the broader and amorphous term gender identity. So the thing I see here, I guess, I mean, their laws protect anti-discrimination laws, especially ones to protect us against being fired just for being trans or gay or whatever. And so yeah, and I guess this hearing had to do with that issue. Like, no one should be fired just because they're gay or trans. That's just discriminating, and it's just horrible. So yeah, they have transgender status. Now the thing about the bathroom, I mean, yeah, there's controversy on that, whether trans female, trans male should be the okay, there's a men's bathroom, women's bathroom. If trans male can use men's bathroom, trans female can use women's bathroom. Yeah, there's still concern over that. But the thing is, okay, like I said earlier, just because somebody took advantage and used that as a means of harming somebody else, doesn't mean that everyone's gonna be bad. So why can't we all just accept one another? Trans women are still women, okay? Always have been. Trans men are men, have always been. There's nothing wrong with that. They can use the bathroom that they feel is most appropriate for them with their gender identity. Locker rooms, similar idea in terms of sports as well. And like I said earlier, the trans female doesn't have a higher advantage than cis women in a women's team. So the next point here is restrict the application of Bostock. The new administration should restrict Bostock's application of sex discrimination, protections to sexual orientation and transgender status in the context of hiring and firing. Rescind regulations prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, and sex characteristics. The President should direct agencies to rescind regulations interpreting sex discrimination provisions as prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, sexual characteristics, etc. Direct agencies to refocus enforcement on sex discrimination laws. The President should direct agencies to focus their enforcement of sex discrimination laws on the biological binary meaning of sex. Wouldn't that just cause more? Like, I still see the idea of like having only two gender, but like, can we just get over that already? There are many other genders in the LGBTQ community as well. And there's nothing wrong with being ourselves. And we're not gonna let these politicians take our freedoms away from us. Why don't you just give me freedom or give me liberty or give me death? So yeah, I promise we're almost done. Just 4 more things. So this one says refocusing labor regulation on the good of the family. So the DEI revolution in labor affected not only the administrative estate, but it also targeted much of the private sector, owing the combination of regulatory pressure and eager human resources offices in the private sector. Much of American labor and employment policy has become institutionally oriented toward woke, quote-unquote woke goals. Retracting regulations that support this revolution is a good first step, but more is needed. We must replace woke nonsense with a healthy vision of the role of labor policy in our society, starting with the American family, which they probably refer as a man and a woman with kids. They're still anti-LGBTQ. So this next thing here on the conclusion of that section. So by eliminating the politics promoted by the DEI agenda, promoting pro-life policies that support family life, expanding available apprenticeship programs, including by encouraging the role of religious organizations in apprenticeships, making family-sustaining jobs accessible, simplifying employment requirements, and allowing employees to prefer American citizens when making hiring decisions. Among the other policy recommendations discussed above, we can begin to secure a future in which the American worker, and by extension, the American family, can thrive and prosper. So they're trying to remove this, you know how there's diversity in the workplace, right? I think they want more American, less diversity in terms of like LGBTQ. They want it out. They want only the Americans, the man or the woman, like cisgender people, to be working. Nothing to protect LGBTQ, nothing to promote diversity. That's what it seems like. Now we're almost there, we're almost done, I promise you right now. So this last section. Let me see. So next, the conservative administration should take affirmative steps to expose and eradicate the practice of critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI through the Treasury Department. So they're trying to basically remove everything LGBTQ related. They don't like the diversity. They want to make sure everyone knows about it. And anything that's still secret, expose it to the public and make sure it's eliminated completely so there's no diversity. So here are the steps they look at. Identify every Treasury official who participated in DI initiatives and interview him or her for the purpose of determining the scope and nature of these initiatives and ensure that such initiatives are completely ended. You see, they're trying to end anything with diversity. They're trying to scope anyone who has a connection with this, anyone who supports it, promotes it, or condones it, and eliminate it completely. Make public immediately all communications relating to the work of the Treasury's critical race theory and DEI initiatives. So any changes they make, anything that they removed successfully, make it public. Treat the participation in any critical race theory or DEI initiative without objecting or unconstitutional or immoral grounds as per se grounds for termination or employment. Expose and make public all training materials and initiatives designed to single out any race, ethnicity, or sex or special treatment. So they're trying to call everything out, and so they can eliminate everything. Everything LGBTQ is what they dislike. They don't like anything LGBTQ related. They don't like diversity. They want us all gone. They want to outlaw LGBTQ completely out. That is why we need to stand up together. All of us as a community, vote for the right people that are not going to remove us, and fight for our rights, fight for our freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Alright? So, overall, I mean, my view on this project is just, there's a whole lot of BS. It's not fair that we have to be dealing with these type of people. We are free. Don't let these Republicans tell you you can't be trans or anything with LGBTQ. You be you. But yeah, there's a lot of trash in that. They just want to take away our rights, outlaw LGBTQ in general. I guess prevent same-sex marriage, make it harder to get abortions. Other things they did that I didn't. Other things that were in that PDF that I didn't go over. I mean, they want to just forget about the climate change stuff, just to make more money. Just forget about switching to electric cars. I guess take direct control. The president has more control on the overall system. No checks and balances. But yeah, it's pretty messed up. I hope he doesn't get in. It's not looking so good for us. Either way, just stay strong out there. We're not giving up here. We deserve our rights and our freedom. We don't need these people to screw us over. Stay strong out there, YouTube. Everyone on YouTube. Be happy. Express your true self. Express your true self. Be yourself. Alright? You can leave comments and stuff. If you want to talk about anything privately, message me or email. Ask me questions. Alright, I totally support y'all. Thank you for watching.